Hello dear students, good afternoon. Today is 11th May 2020 and we are moving towards 48th day of the lockdown period. Due to this COVID-19 pandemic, पूरी दुनिया में ये महामारी वैश्विक रूप लेके लगभग आज की डेट में 2,80,000 लोगों की मृत्यु हो चुकी है और 43 लाख लोग उससे अफेक्टेड हो चुके हैं। और भारत में भी वी आर मूविंग टुवर्ड 70,000 एक्टिव केसेस एंड डेथ हैज बीन रिपोर्टेड टिल डेट नियर अबाउट 2,200. Of course, it is comparatively low than the Western Hemisphere's country, but it is concerning. So today's topic, I am dealing for the students of MA second year who has opted social sector environment paper, and I am repeating all this because still we are living the lockdown period. So I am repeating and just evaluating in terms of this COVID-19 period. तो हमने पढ़ा चुका है, लेकिन चूंकि हेल्थ हमारा इशू है, हमने कहा ना कि हम लोगों के पेपर का इशू हेल्थ है, तो हम इसको दोबारा आपके लिए अपडेट करके फिर से आपके लिए अपलोड कर देंगे यूट्यूब पर कॉलेज के. सो आज का जो टॉपिक है, टुडेज टॉपिक इज रिफॉर्मिंग हेल्थ इश्यूज इन इंडिया. Or you can say that healthcare in India, which earlier depicted as a Vision 2020, what are the issues and prospects for that? So this is a relevant issues as well as matter of your course and syllabus based. Okay. So dear students, you should know and you must know, and already I have explained you that why health is an issue. So we all know that health is a fundamental human right, and this is a global and this is also a social goal. It is pertinent for the realization of basic human needs and for better quality of life. Health is causative factor that affects countries' aggregate level of economic growth. And since development is a consequence of good health, even the poorest developing countries should make it priority to invest in the health sector. So this lesson is for India also. Unfortunately, health has been poorly invested in by many countries, including India, with low human development, and the health sector still remains largely untapped and continues to suffer neglect. And this is a matter of great concern, especially in context of COVID-19. ये हेल्थ का परिभाषा था, हेल्थ का कंसर्न था. पहले से हम लोग कंसर्न होते तो हम हेल्थ के प्रति आज इतना बेचैन नहीं दिखाई पड़ते. So this is to explain that why health is important for the economic student. And in this purview, where does India stand? Let us start with this. So, India's rank in the Human Development Index, according to report to 2018, out of 189 countries, that stands to 130 countries, issued by the UNDP, depicts the level of ignorance of the health sector in country like India. So, this is a very poor condition regarding health. And India is one of the fastest growing economies of the world. The very essential components of primary health care, promotion of food supply, proper nutrition, safe water and basic sanitation and provision for quality health information concerning the prevailing health problems is largely ignored till date. So access to healthcare services, provision of essential medicines and scarcity of doctors are another bottlenecks in the primary healthcare scenario. So India's position is not very good regarding healthcare system. That's why we have opted lockdown to fight with COVID-19, because our healthcare system was not appropriate in comparison with the Western countries. So we should know what are the key facts. Why I am showing concern before you. Dear students, before 2015 and between 2015 and up to 2050 prospects, the proportion of the world's population over 60 years will nearly double from 12% to 20%. जनसंख्या बढ़ने जा रहा है, ये हमको सोचना होगा. And by 2020, which is running, the number of people aged 60 years and older will outnumber children young than 5 years. This is the key factors. In 2050, 80% of older people will be living in low and middle income countries, including India. India will also surpass many countries and reach up to 22% of the old age population. And the pace of population aging is much faster than in the past. In India, approximately about 5.8 million people die because of diabetes, heart attack, cancer, etc. each year. And this is besides the old age problem. In other words, out of every 4 Indians, one has a risk of dying because of non-communicable disease before the age of 70. So according to WHO, 1.7 million Indians deaths are caused by the heart disease. And we all know in the era of COVID-19 just prevailing since end of 19, aged where there is a longevity, mostly in the developed countries, the deaths are mostly prevailing to aged person. 80 to 90% deaths due to COVID is for the aged person. So this is a great concern for India also. So let us introduce our topic, that what is the key linkages in health. The health and healthcare need to be distinguished from each other for no better reason than that of the former is often incorrectly seen as a direct function of the latter. Health is clearly not the merely absence of disease, but good health confers on a person or group's freedom from illness and the ability to realize one's potential. ये बहुत जरूरी है. Health is therefore best understood as the indispensable basis for defining person's sense of well-being, and the health of population is a distinct key issue in public policy discourse in every mature society, often determining the deployment of the huge society. And there are 4 criteria. The first is universal access, and access to an adequate level and access without excessive burden. Second, the fair distribution of financial costs for access and fair distribution of burden in rationing care and capacity and constant search for improvement to a more just system. Third, training providers for competence, empathy and accountability, pursuit of quality care and cost-effective use of the results of relevant research. And fourth, special attention to vulnerable groups such as children, women, disabled and aged. So why makes for a just healthcare system even is ideal? Due to these 4 criteria. And you know, children, women, disabled and aged are most vulnerable regarding the health. So what we should forecast for the health sector in general, the prediction about the future health of the individuals and populations can be narrowly uncertain. We all know COVID-19 came suddenly from China. Nobody was prepared for that pandemic, but it came. So this is health is always uncertain variable. However, all projection of healthcare in India must in the end rest in the overall changes in the political economy, on progress made in poverty mitigation, that is health care to the poor, in reduction of inequalities, that is health inequalities affecting access and quality, in generation of employment, income streams to facilitate capacity to pay and to accept individual responsibility for the one's health, and in public information and development communication to promote preventive self-care and risk reduction by the conducive lifestyles, and in personal lifestyle changes due to often directly resulting from the social changes and the global influences. So we had to concern about the healthcare system. And what is the available healthcare forecast? There is a forecast on the new health challenges likely to emerge in India over the next few decades. Earlier it was forecasted for the year 2020, but 2020's forecast is side away by the COVID-19. So many World Bank projected that have provided a possible scenario of the burden of disease for India in the year 2020. Earlier it was predicted based on a statistical model calculating the changes of dailies. I have already told what is the daily, that is a measurement of health, are applied to the population projection for the 2020, which is running, the year is running. So the key conclusion must be understood keeping in mind the fact that concept of dailies incorporates not only mortality but disability view terms of the healthy or the lost life. So now we have to calculate due to COVID how much life years had been lost, and we have to calculate according to the daily measurement. So we all know earlier we forecasted that the TB is expected to plateau by 2000 and HIV/AIDS infections are expected to rise significantly by the 2010, and which we have seen, and injuries may increase less significantly, but finally cardiovascular disease resulting any form of risk associated with the smoking, urban stress and improper diet are expected to increase dramatically. So earlier this type of disease were forecasted for the country like India, but now suddenly COVID type of disease came, and we have to rethink about our new healthcare system. So overall, the analysis reveals the poorer and more populated states like West Bengal, which is not cautioning due to some political biasness, will still face a large incidence of communicable disease. And more prosperous states such as Punjab further along the health transition will witness sharply increasing incidence of non-communicable disease, especially in urban areas. Earlier this was predicted by the researchers. And so future of the state provided healthcare is the state responsibility. There should be state responsible healthcare system, and the second was there should be free medical care for all. And thank God to Ayushman scheme that this had been done in India. So all the consequences of the health scenario is that the first set of consequences was the inadequate prior to public health and poor investment. And the second set of consequences pertains to sustainability, unrealistic goals of earlier reports. Without being too defensive or critical about his past failures, the rural health structure should be strengthened and funded to manage efficiently in all states in the coming years. The third set of consequences appears to be the inability to develop and integrate plural system of medicines. So this all is the incidences of the bad healthcare system. What are the key achievements in health? If you have to discuss before you the key achievements before health in India, overall achievements regard to longevity and other key health indicators are impressive. Of course, this is impressive in word also, but COVID-19 is impacting those longevity persons. Now, in the past few decades, you can say in 6 decades, life expectancy has increased from 50 years to almost 67 to 68 years. At this stage, I'm talking about India. In global world, this is above 75 years. At this stage, a process understanding of longevity child health may be useful for understanding progress of future. So longevity, always a key national goal, is not merely the reduction of deaths as a result of better medical rehabilitated care of old age. In any model of development, longevity is our national goal. But that longevity is impacted by the COVID-19 in the Western Hemisphere countries. So this we have to rethink. And so indeed, persistence with improved routines and care of quality in immunization would also be a pathway to reduce the world's highest rate of maternal mortality. So what are the other consequences? The other consequences is based on the large ratio-based rural health infrastructure consisting of over 5 lakh trained doctors working under plural system of medicine and vast frontline force of over 7 lakh ANMs and other paramedical forces. So these all are the consequences of the India. And what are the major diseases control efforts by the India? Because in syllabus you have to discuss about this also. What are the earlier steps taken by the Indian government regarding this healthcare system? So I am just repeating you for the sake of your knowledge also and to update in the present situation. The first was polio, yaws and leprosy by 2005. It was the Indian government's projection which seems distinctly feasible. पोलियो को खत्म करने का उनका टारगेट था जो करीब करीब हो गया. Second was काला बाजार by 2010 and filarias by 2010, and then blindness prevalence to 0.5% to 2010. AIDS reaching zero growth by 2007. Still we have to move towards that. So this all was the target earlier for the sake of health sector in India. And what was the unfinished burden of communicable disease? Apart from all the diseases what I earlier told you, the vast unfinished burden in preventing, controlling or eliminating other major communicable disease and in bringing down the risk of deaths in maternal and perinatal conditions. And endemic diseases, this is a form of endemic. COVID is a form of endemic. It is rather this is a pandemic, but for our country, for India, this is endemic. So endemic diseases arising from infections or lack of nutrition continue to account for almost 2/3 of mortality and morbidity in India. ये पहले चिताया गया था तो हमको उसके लिए चिंता करनी चाहिए था. और there is a very important committee. There was a very important committee which we have to rethink about that. Indeed, 11 out of 13 disease recommended by the Bohre committee were infectious disease, and at least 3 of them may well continue to be with us for the next 2 decades. Earlier, Bohre committee alarmed us about that infectious disease, but unluckily we could not concentrate on the health issues in this sector of economy. So health infrastructure is the key factors for the economy, and issues in the regard to public and private health infrastructure different, are both of them need attention but in different ways. Rural public infrastructure must remain in mainstream for the wider access to health care for all without imposing undue burden on them. So this is the most important thing, that you have to focus on the rural public infrastructure. Okay, so there is also concern for the health financing issues. Public expenditure level should be increased in the near future. Everyone is crying for that. And private expenditure trends, you know that it has been established that between 2/3 to 3/4 of all medical expenditure is spent on privately provided care. Every households on the average spends up to 10% annual households consumption in meeting health care needs. 10% अपने आय का खर्च करना ही पड़ता है हेल्थ पर, इसलिए ये बहुत बड़ा इशू हो सकता है. So this regressive burden shows up vividly in the cycle of incomplete cure followed by the recurrence of illness and drug resistance that the poor face in disease like tuberculosis, Kala-Azar or malaria, especially for daily wage earners who cannot afford be out of work. तो अब ये सब चीज पहले से कहा गया था. And now COVID-19 arises in globe and in India also. This is the most concerning feature for the हेल्थ केयर सिस्टम. कैसे गरीब उससे बचेगा? इसे लॉकडाउन को उनको बचाना था, लेकिन हमको आने वाले समय में हेल्थ केयर पे इन्वेस्टमेंट करके गरीबों के लिए एक फ्रूटफुल योजना बनाना पड़ेगा. सो एंड दैट प्लान में बी health insurance plan, insurance for all, and government should take responsibility for the health insurance of the poor. Ayushman has done very good job, but still government have to cover many poor and many middle class person regarding the health care. So these all are the situation which you have to learn about that according to syllabus. And what is the emerging scenario? Lastly, I will say that an optimist scenario will be permitted on the average 8% rate of economic growth during the decades of 10% per annum thereafter. If so, 8 से 10% चाहिए, then only मेजर फॉल आउट इन टर्म्स ऑफ रिजल्ट इन द हेल्थ सिनेरियो. और हमको धक्का लगा है, लेकिन आने वाले समय में इकोनॉमिक्स भी मजबूत करना पड़ेगा ताकि हम अपने हेल्थ सेक्टर को मजबूती से आगे. सो द earlier there was a forecast of pandemic, earlier there was a forecast of endemic by WHO also. So what is important, the chance of 2/3 decline in moderate malnutrition and abolition of serious malnutrition completely by 2020. The case of cancer, it is feasible to set up an integrated system for proper screening, early detection, self-care and timely investigation and referral. So these all are the part of the healthcare system. And again I am saying that China devotes 4.5% GDP against Indian 5.5% in the complete healthcare system, but still is very below average, very below from the globe. So we have to accept this challenge, and most health sector issues figuring in political debate are those that affect interest groups and seldom central in choice of healthcare system. We have to not trap on this, because now COVID is a great challenge, and causes due to COVID is more than 2,80,000 till date, and over 95% of this is occurred in those of the aged 60 plus population. So we have to think of the rethink of the healthcare budget, because Germany spends 11.1% of its GDP on healthcare, and India should also think of the spending and raising the healthcare budget in the purview of this COVID-19. So this is a lesson for this, and the key driver of death is always a disease, COVID-19 like disease, and our concern should be to fight against this type of pandemic. And because demographic changes are taking to place, income and health should be the major concern, and the shocking states of health is a very poor scenario in India also, because we all know the statistics of health regarding India published by WHO is not satisfactory. So we have to rethink of the many schemes like Rashtriya Bal Swasth Kalyan Yojana, Rashtriya Kishore Swasth Kalyan Yojana, and